Microcellular urethane is like next to impossible to break or tear or break down. So it does work. It's not meant to work that way, but you got to love our customers. And for half the price to accomplish, if they're after slamming the ride and that's it, it's a great option to it. And still allow them to go back up and get full 3 inches of travel. It's a great cost-effective option. And this is the one that has the compressor kit option in the left saddlebag. 5/8 inch hole. Weatherhead seal comes with it. Quick disconnects for the airline as well as the electrical connection, so you can still remove the bag. But some are not into drilling holes in saddlebags, so understandably so. Then we go to option B. Everyone's familiar with Touring Link? Yes? Yes? No? We'll talk about. It's a great cost-effective way of stabilizing baggers. It fits a wide range from 93 to 08. 09 they changed the frame, so there's no need for it, though we get some calls that say, hey, you got something. I think some consumers get in their head, they have a stability problem, and they want it, so we'll keep an eye on it. But lazy sweeping curves is what really instigates this tank slapping condition. When they went to a rubber mount, you know, it's okay for the motor to go this direction, as it is this way, but when you go into that lazy sweeper curve, allowing the motor to vibrate like this actually induces that. And the consumer's first reaction is to back off on the throttle, and that makes it even worse. So they've got to literally write it out and then back off. So that's what led us to develop this. And there's a number of systems out there, and they all work. It's just a different way to solve a problem. Except, number one, those other systems are more expensive. They're running $400 or $500 or more dollars. They have a triangulation arrangement beneath the transmission pan that creates a ground clearance issue. So when you corner aggressively, that tends to scrape before even the floorboards do. Not a good thing. They create a heat dam around the transmission pan, and they create a lifting. I know you're not supposed to lift off the trans pan, but you know your customers do, and that interferes with that. So this eliminates all those. One, it's only $200. Two, it's 3 simple components. You remove the right side swing arm pivot, or swing arm mounting bracket for the bushing. You take 3 transmission pan bolts out and drop this little narrow bracket on, and the Heim joint, and you're done. So there's no ground clearance issue, there's no heat dam, there's no lifting. And the old saying, you know, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, right? Well, that's what we've done here. Envision the motor. It can't move now. It's okay to move this way. We just don't want it to move that way. And it's done by that Heim joint in a very short, perfectly horizontal plane. 2 things to remember, though. As you see here in the photo, that's the way it's got to be installed. This Heim joint is preset to length. The 2 bolts should tighten, finger tight, no problem. But we also know the motor company cannot put that motor in the same spot every time. So that's why we made it a Heim joint, so you can lengthen it or shorten it to get the bolts to finger tighten. But the 2 key things to remember is the female end always goes to the outside. And the reason for that is, again, motor company can't get the engine in the same way twice. There's a potential for that thicker body to interfere with that transmission bracket. Likewise, male testosterone tells us you always put a washer behind the head of a bolt. You don't here. You put it between the bracket and the Heim joint. 40 thousandths of extra space in the event that that motor isn't where it's supposed to be. If you put one or you sell one of these to a customer and they call you and say, hey, I got a vibration, I guarantee you it's one of those 2 things. They either put the Heim joint on in the wrong direction or put the washers in the wrong place. And then about the time it took me to explain that is about what dealers are saying. They're saying 45 minutes to an hour and a half to install. It's going to depend if it's got a stock exhaust and if it's got pegs in the back instead of boards, you know the routine. But for $200, it's a great price point to fix a known concern. These are two particular applications for Goldwings. What's neat here is they utilize that 440 damper technology, so they give a real nice ride quality. For the 450 and 460 series, early model 1500s or the current model 1800s. This particular one for the 1800, we sell two variations of it. You can buy just the progressive rate spring, take the stock unit out, replace the spring, or you can buy the ready-to-go unit. You still got to access it, and you all know if you ever worked on a Goldwing how fun these are to get to. But a nice selling feature for this, I'm not making fun of Goldwing owners, but they do tend to be a little heavy, and they tend to travel with everything, including the kitchen sink. So what happens is they use that onboard ride height adjuster just to get it adjusted for their weight, and then they put their significant other and baggage on, and all of a sudden it's dead. So when you go this route of ours, you know, I was saying we sell standard heavy-duty springs. Here we don't sell two different springs, but we do offer provision in the damper itself that if you know in advance that the customer is heavy or rides too up a lot, you can put it to the higher setting, which would be the equivalent of adding preload to it. So once it's installed and then you go to activate the ride height adjuster, guess what? You've got full stroke use of the onboard ride height adjuster. So not only will it handle their weight, but it'll handle the extra baggage as well. $300 for the spring, $600 for the shock. This is that 465 series shock. Notice it's quite different from appearance-wise. It's got a real nice anodized bronze, almost like this emblem here on my shirt. Black spring. Tons of preload adjustment. It still has the rebounded 5-position adjustment. On the 420, we used to have the Schrader valve, how we at the factory charged the unit with nitrogen gas, except the consumer saw it and say, hey, I got an air shock, and they go put an air valve on it and vacate all the gas. So now we've taken care of that as well. But we're adding literally daily new applications on it. The goal is, in as quick a time as possible, have this offered on every current 420 application and then some.